Investors and traders, welcome to the channel Market Chart Pattern. Today is 14th of July 2024. Hope everyone is having a good weekend. In this video, we will be taking a look at the gold and silver market. We will be taking a look at the key few indices that we like to follow and the ETFs for the gold market. I will also get into the details of the actual gold market by taking a look at the COMEX gold futures and the key technical levels that we should be watching for and the forecasted levels, and also we'll do the same for the silver, and then we'll take a look at some key individual stocks for gold and also for silver as well. As always, this video is for educational purposes only and it is not a financial advice. Okay, so I want to spend the first few minutes of the video actually talking about a macro picture for the gold and why I think that the gold stocks, which have actually been lagging behind the actual commodity itself in the recent rally, which began from February of 2024 in gold, might actually be at a really key level where we could in fact see some of these gold miners which have really been suppressed in terms of price and might still be profitable companies, but the price action wise they are really at their lows, might actually be at a point where we can see some really good gains come into this, so they might be actually working towards moving higher. So we'll be discussing that as well, and for that I just wanted to show you guys an interesting chart which I've actually already shown in the video for the stock indices, and just wanted to bring this over here. And here what we have is the SOX, which is the semiconductors and the gold bugs ratio index. So basically I've done is I've taken the SOX, which is semiconductors, divided by the HUI, which is the gold bugs index, and created a ratio. And it's really interesting to see that when this around the 3rd of July 2000, that's pretty much the kind of range when the actual commodity was bottoming around that time period, and then we have seen a really fantastic bull market take over in the gold. What we saw was that actually it was a speculative blow off top in the tech stocks, which was happening in the year 2000, and of course that was the era of the internet and the dot-com, and of course the fed fund rates were also pretty elevated as well. And the really interesting thing to see is what the ratio is pointing out is that the semiconductor stocks, for example, the valuation for them, or the price for those stocks, actually began to decline, and we began to see an increase in the gold related miners. So the prices for the miners actually began to increase, and this kind of bottom out pretty much around here, going back to around 2011, and we all know that 2011 was a top which lasted for quite a few years, about 2.5 years in the gold market, and then we began to see a slight here we began to see an increase in this ratio going up, which meant that actually it was the tech stocks which began to perform much better, or in vice versa, the gold miners actually began to perform much not that well, and we began to see this ratio move higher. And now where it is right here is it's very close to where it was about 24 years ago. And of course this is the year of the blockchain and the artificial intelligence, and the Fed fund rates are again by above 5% over the course of the last few months. Now this is a quarterly chart, so each bar is 3 months. What we have seen is that there is actually underlying improvement in the gold stocks, and because of that what we are seeing is this kind of a price action. Maybe it could be a double top as well, but what it is indicating is that there is money coming in or flowing into the gold miner stocks. So this is something which we need to pay close attention to, because these are the stocks which have been really depressing their price, and if there is going to be some sort of rotation where the money might be coming out of some other sectors, it might begin to move into the mining stocks. And of course, if you have not already watched the video from yesterday, please do watch that. I'll put a link to it in the description and also towards the end of this video. And then we take a look at the longer term for the US dollar. So we a longer term view for the US dollar, and I actually show you a symmetry which exists in the market. And if our view is right, then the dollar moving lower moving forward would actually be beneficial for the metals, for example, the precious metals in particular. And of course, that could actually translate into some of these really depressed mining stocks actually, starting to move higher. And some of these stocks are really low in value, and they could actually move a lot higher. And I'll show you the next chart. So let's have a look at another chart here. Let me bring it over. This chart here. So what this chart is basically, this is a chart which is split into three parts. The top part here, this is the HUI, which is the gold bucks index ratio to the gold price, so the actual gold price here. And I took the COMEX gold, so meaning the futures, but with respect to the spot gold, it will be similar for the kind of analysis that we are doing. And the orange line is gold price itself, is COMEX gold futures, and then we have the RSI right at the bottom here. So what I want to show you is that when we do a ratio like this of the gold bugs index, which is basically the gold miners, divided by the actual price of the gold, we see something really interesting. And one of the things is that right here, what we had a look at in the other chart was the July 2000, or roughly we can say the 2000 year. This is where we had a bottom come in this ratio right here. And then we could see the RSI was actually below this 30 levels, or touching around 20, and the gold price was kind of bottoming as well. And then we began to see a rise here, which also coincided with a rise in the underlying commodity, but the miners, the gold miners, were also doing pretty well. So we had this ratio moving higher as well. In fact, I believe what it indicated was that what it is indicating is actually there was a lot more activity coming in the actual miners than the underlying commodity itself, in terms of the acceleration or the speed at which the underlying commodity was rising in comparison to the actual miners. That we see this upward move in this curve right here. And the other thing is that what we can have a look at, this one is around the 1st of December 2003, we see a peak come in this ratio, and we can see that from the RSI. It's a double top formation. Actually what it is a divergence. So this is kind of a negative divergence, in the sense that this ratio is moving higher, but the relative strength was showing other way around, that there was actually weakness coming in. But the real important part is to look at this 70%. This upper boundary is 70%. So whenever the price has actually gone, or this ratio has gone around to 70% or higher, and especially when it has done a peak like this, like a double top formation, we have seen the gold prices decline as well. So actually we see the commodity become bearish for quite some time. So we saw that here. This is a really good example, and it actually happened over a course of a pretty long time actually. So some of these divergences, they can take quite a long time to play out. In fact, then what we see is a peak around here, and it was RSI was touching nearly 70%. More recently, we see this around 20. Now I don't have the exact line drawn here, but it looks like the year of 2016. We see some decline taking place around towards the end of 2016. It was bottoming out, and what we can see is then the commodity is actually rising higher, which is actually rising quicker than the what the price action in the miners is like. But here is the real thing that I'm watching. So look, let's go back to the late 1990s and the early 2000 year. This is where we had this ratio really touching towards its what was the low point back then. And then what we saw was, if we just draw a trend line like this, it eventually broke above the trend line. And what we have going on right now is that we have a similar situation. In fact, it's kind of a double bottom here, that we have seen this ratio forming a bottom in the year around 2000, end of 2015, 2016, around here. Then again happening in, I believe, year 2000, 2020. And this is where it is kind of putting a floor in. And now this ratio is rising again. And we have already seen a pretty good rally in the gold underlying market already. And then if we draw a trend line like here, so what I'm trying to suggest is that we might be in a situation that we were in the year 2000. And if that is the case and we get a really nice breakout and the moving averages will begin to give us the momentum behind this, we could actually see a pretty nice rally coming in these gold mining stocks. Now, not all these gold miner stocks might move really quickly higher, but some of them might do really well. And of course, we already know that is something I've discussed, that in when we're looking at gold miners, there are two kind of mining stocks which exist. One is the royalty stocks, and the other ones are which are actually mining the gold itself, and they have the cost basis which are a little bit different. So that's why we see the royalty stocks price much higher, because they are their revenue generation is through the royalty, whereas the actual miners will have typically in comparison will have a lower price as well, and then their cost base is a little bit different, but we'll discuss more about those when we begin to take a look at the individual stocks. So here in a nutshell, what I am trying to discuss is, by showing you these two charts, is putting in a macro picture that we might be at a point where we could possibly see a rotation and money coming into these really suppressed and depressed in terms of the price, the gold mining stocks, the silver mining stocks, the precious metal mining stocks, for example, and these could present an actually pretty good opportunity to take a look at. Alright, so now we'll actually begin to take a look at some of these individual indices from a technical perspective. So here we go, we have this chart of the gold bugs index. This is the weekly chart. We were watching for this ABCD here, which has pretty much completed, but look how strong this market is. In fact, you can see on a weekly basis. I'll show you a chart of the gold itself a little bit later on. This, what is showing is that the miners were actually stronger. Now, where it is right here, this is you can think of it as our target, but it's also a minor resistance level as well. Ultimately, I think that this market is actually going at least to this 331 level, where it's gonna go and challenge these highs, and this is where we can see some sort of a pullback happen as well, because we'll have a big move taking place, and of course some resistance from the structure on the left hand side, and then of course we have the 1.618 expansion of this BC swing. Now, if we take a look at the XAU, which is the gold and silver sector index, here we go. Again, we see a very similar kind of a picture. We see a really strong close for the past week, so last week. And here we have got the ABCD coming a little bit higher. And I believe the price from the all-time highs that were reached is nearly about 78.6% retracement or thereby. There we go. Yeah, right at it's closed at right at the 78.6% retracement. So this is the level where we can see some sort of resistance come in. In other words, maybe some sort of profit taking might take place, and ultimately I think it's gonna go for these highs. And the momentum is pretty strong. The price is on the weekly basis above the 20 period moving average, is above the 200 period moving average. The momentum is looking pretty strong. So here, really interesting to see how the market will trade. If it is able to get above the 153 level, then in my opinion the next challenge will be the 170, 171 target right here. Now, if you look at the GDX itself, this is the ETF for gold miners. When a gold miners ETF. Here, it's in my opinion, it's ABCD. We should probably be able to target 40 spot 17, and ultimately I think it's going for these highs right here, and then the all-time highs reached were right here, and the 1 point I think I'm gonna actually move it a little bit higher, this one. There we go. So I think what's gonna happen is it's gonna target the $40 level, and there we can find resistance coming in from the structure, maybe some sort of a pullback happen, and then ultimately I think it's going to go and try to test these highs, and the 1.272 expansion of this entire range comes around 52, so that will be the kind of the shorter term level to take a look at, but really short term, some resistance around 40 level. Now I'm going to go back to the gold market itself, and then here after that we'll begin to take a look at some of the individual stocks. So here we go. This is the COMEX gold chart for on weekly basis, and here we can see clearly the market is in a range bound manner. And the chances are that the actual underlying market might actually remain range bound for a little bit longer time period. So maybe, you know, till sometime in August we might see actually a sideways price action in the gold actual underlying gold market itself, whereas the miners might begin to perform actually better. And this is what we gather from the first two charts I showed you in the video. And if we just look at the weekly candle, we can see that on the miners itself that candle was much stronger. Whether we take a look at the GDX, which was the ETF for the gold miners, whether we look at the gold bucks index or the gold and silver ratio index, you know, the weekly candles were much stronger. So I think what has happened is that the gold might have put in a bottom in this range when it was testing the bottom of this trading range. Although I wanted to see it come down a little bit lower to around 2282 or a 2280 level. That did not happen. That's good. It just found pretty good support from these 2300 level, and now in my opinion it's actually going to go and test the top of this range, 2452. They put the possibility of even reaching 2500 longer term. So if we take a look at this chart quarterly, we have projections going on to about 2700. So that's where I think the gold market is eventually pretty much going to go, maybe even surpass $3,000 level as well. But 2700 is the kind of the big target that we are watching for because of the different projections that we get. But what I also see is that some of the miners actually catching up with the underlying market itself, and the underlying market might go a little bit sideways for maybe 3-4 weeks. That's also a possibility. Of course I could be wrong, and then the gold next week could be pretty much could be much stronger and just break out of this range and keep on going higher, which is good because we do have the projections to the upside. Now let's actually take a quick look at the daily chart as well. So here we go. So on the daily chart, we can clearly see that last Thursday when the CPI data came out, it was really supportive. The PPI data was a little bit stronger, and we saw an inside bar here. This is why I think that it might take actually a little bit longer for it to break out to the upside for the gold market. So we might see a little bit of trading range behavior for maybe a couple of weeks, but the miners are actually looking stronger. All right, so now we actually take a look at the silver market as well. So this is going to be the silver, the COMEX silver contract. This is the futures market. If you are actually looking at the price levels on the spot market, the levels will be different in terms of the actual prices, but the patterns are going to be much similar. You just make sure that that we are looking at the COMEX futures market. We are not looking at the spot market here. So here again we saw a pretty strong move in the silver when the CPI data came out. PPI it kind of remained gave up all those gains from the previous day, and now we have this trading range. But what I think is that we are actually moving in this ABCD shown in red higher, especially after breaking out of this triangle right here. So 3530 is the kind of level we could expect on the daily chart shorter term. Longer term, let's take a look on the weekly chart. We have this whole expansion of this entire trading range. Pretty much you can say from August 2020 to 29th of August 2022, so about 2 years. We got 3380 and 3825 as the levels to watch. And if we take a look at the quarterly chart, so this is the each bar represents 3 months of trading activity. So these are quarterly charts. We have this big ABCD taking us to 35 to 38. And then if we do a kind of a Darwin box kind of a method to get the projection, then actually these highs coming in from the April of 2011 around 50, the market might actually be challenging that as well. So there's a possibility for this, but just look at all this accumulation that took place here, now really nicely moving in this ABCD move higher. So that's what we are looking at for the silver market. Now, let's take a look at some of the key individual stocks. So we already taken a look at the GDX. Let's take a look at the Newmont mining. So NEM, here we go. So NEM is pretty strong. It has met the kind of targets that we were watching for. So ABCDs, the smaller one, which is this one, and the bigger one, which is this one. So that's good. Those targets met, and when we were watching this one, we had actually drawn this channel, so it moved out of this channel, and we were thinking if there is going to be a retracement, it might actually pull back to right here towards the upper boundary of the channel. It never came pretty close, but it came close enough. We have the 1.618 expansion around 51, and if I just try to get a 38.2% retracement of its all-time highs, which was around 19th of April 2022 to the lows around here. Oops. Let's see what we get. Maybe I should have done it on the weekly chart. Yeah, so I think $50 is where this market is gonna go. Then we could have some good resistance coming in from the structure as well. But $50 is what we are looking at. So about $2.50 up to the upside. This is really short-term stuff that I'm talking about. On the weekly chart, let's take a look. Here we go. So on the weekly chart, I think once it is able to get above that 55 will of course be the target, 55.50, because that's going to be the high coming in from January of 2023. So yeah, I'm just going to keep it to this for now. Once these levels are broken to the upside, then we'll have other targets as well. And then let's take a look at gold, which is the barrick gold. I mean, equity stocks. Here we go. Oh, why don't we see this? Okay, barrick gold. Here we go. So the barrick gold, compared to the Newmont mining, it had been actually not as strong, but now it's also getting strong. So I think what we are looking at is a move in this ABCD higher. So we can actually challenge this $20, which was the highs coming in from 4th of May 2023, but easily it can get up to the 22, 24, which is the 1.272 and 1.618 expansions. And also, I think that we have this inverse head and shoulder pattern also taking place in this stock. So this is daily chart. I'm talking shorter term targets, by the way. So there we go. We'll have an ABCD at 61.8% retracement and a structural resistance here. So this $20.70 is kind of a really important level to watch. So because what could happen is that if the market reaches that point, it could actually find resistance, move back into the range, which should give us another ABCD target to the upside. So this is what we're looking at in the barrick gold. On the daily chart, on the weekly chart, you can see that it looks much nicer because this whole formation is a channel. It looks like a bear flag. So it has broken above this. It had done it before as well, but it went back and tested the upper channel, and now it's going for this more sustained breakout, in my opinion. So once it is able to get above these levels that we looked at on the daily chart, then I think we are actually in fact in this pretty big ABCD. So let me take this, boom. Okay, and that's one way of drawing it. There could be actually a smaller one here. Let's actually, I'm gonna change the color for this so it's easily distinguishable. So let's make it black, and we clone it, project it for from our point C. Yeah, let me also join this BC point. There we go. So we could have a target of about 3480 and 38. And on the retracement level, let's see what sort of retracement we get. Look how it was topping back here in 2011, right? This is when the miners were topping, the gold was topping. So a little bit different to what's going on right now, because here the miners had been really suppressed, but the underlying moved quite a bit, and now I think the miners are also moving to the upside. So here we go. I believe this 3680 to 38 level is gonna be the key level to watch. It's pretty far off as it may seem in Barrick Gold. But this is where our projections are going, and you can also see there is a very nice trend line here like this. You just join it. There are some overshoots for sure. Here we go. Let me make it a dotted line. There we go. There are some overshoots, but it looks like the market actually comes back to it, and then if we are able to get above this kind of resistance level and the levels that we saw on the daily chart, we, in my opinion, will be moving in these ABCDs higher. So Barrick, this is what we see on the weekly chart. Now let's go and have a look at some of these stocks. I might not be able to cover all of them, but here is Vale, and I think this is one where we should keep it on our radar, and we have this right at this structural support. So I think if someone is looking for an entry, the risk to reward is pretty good here. And we could have, it looks like it might be in a triangle formation here, and on the retracement level, if we just draw this, looks like a 61.8% retracement. And here we go, actually a little bit below. It's in between 78 and 61. So yeah, one might have to think and adjust the risk, but let's see if there is a nice trend line from here to there, and there we go. Such a nice, beautiful looking trend line, which is providing the support. So in my opinion, this whale is setting up pretty nicely, and one could look at it and adjust the risk for themselves for a long sort of a position. Again, it's not a financial advice, so you do what you have to do, but the formation looks pretty nice, and if it is able to get above this triangle formation, I can actually go back and look at this triangle like this. That will be a pretty big breakout, and then there's a possibility of a massive ABCD. In fact, it might have already done one ABCD like this on the weekly chart. Here we go. We take this, let's clone this, and there you go. It had done an ABCD. In fact, it overshot a bit, but wasn't able to sustain it. And so that would be another actually opportunity where we could have a bigger ABCD from this low to this high, this low. So that will be our C point. Then again an A, B, C, D. So really interesting. Whale is looking, pretty interesting where it is. So that's one thing to take a look at. Let's take a look at, this is Agnico Eagle. It might be one of those royalty stocks, but I'm not really sure. It also had a pretty nice weekly close, much stronger than the actual underlying commodity, which is gold. And here, this is on the daily chart. I think we were already looking at it on the daily chart. We have some patterns drawn here. So what we were watching for was this shorter term 75.87. The market is already pretty much there, so that's good. And then we have this bigger ABCD, which could actually see the stock rise to about 95. It is about 75 at the moment, so $20. There you go. And that's just the ABCD. I've not drawn the expansion of this entire BC swing, so we could be actually looking at something 100 plus actually if the market does not find a big resistance. Where it is right now here, it could be a minor resistance, and we could expect the stock to pull back a little bit, maybe consolidate, catch up with this 20-day moving average. That remains a possibility. This one is El Dorado Gold Corporation. When we were watching this one on the daily chart, we had drawn this big massive ABCD here. Let me actually make it bigger so it's easier to see, and this is the work which we had done in our previous video, so I encourage you to actually dig down in the archive and look at this when we were looking at this and we were drawing these pattern formations, and now the market is actually traveling to those levels. So that's really fascinating to see, because when we drew some of these levels, they appeared far off. That market may never reach those levels, but here we are. It is there. Those patterns are getting completed, so it's really exciting to see that. Okay, Gold Fields, I don't know about this stock, so I'm gonna leave it. Harmony Gold, it's again a really small stock in terms of the price. And here, look, you can see a parabolic move. Let me actually move to the weekly chart. These are much easier to look on a weekly chart. Here we go. And one time it had been a $19 stock, so it's forming a nice you can see a rounded bottom around here. I'm just gonna do a very quick analysis of this. So let's see if I just draw a retracement. So it looks like it wants to go and target this 61.8% retracement, but I also see that there could be some sort of a channel like this, and where it is, it's right kind of it could be a resistance in the sense that top of the channel, more like a wedge, so top of the wedge, so we can see some pullback. Yeah, I don't see there is too much symmetry in here, so I'm going to delete that. So just look at this trend line. There is a possibility it could actually pull back from these levels, because testing this top of this wedge, I can draw a wedge like this. Here we go. Here we go. Oops, it's not this one. Like this. Okay, and what do we have now? We have Mag Silver. So by the name of it, it looks like a silver stock. Pretty nice weekly move last week. And here, let's see, what could it do? The chances are it's going for about 17 bucks. And if we were to draw a kind of a trend line here, yeah, it broke above it around here. So don't know too much about this stock, but it looks like it might be actually going for a challenge of the 17 level. Vista Gold, so this is a really low price stock. At one time it was about a 14 bucks stock. Yeah, let's just go here and have a quick look at this one, Vista Gold. Yeah, interesting to see there is some movement in this one as well. I don't know much about this company, but you can have a look at this. The way it's moving, looks like it wants to do at least an ABCD higher and test this level, these highs here. Let me actually bring in volume for this one, and let's see. Yeah, this is where on the upside we had a pretty good volume, so that's where it's gonna go, because pretty nice volume came out onto the upside. Following, there was no follow through, and this market just went down. So it looks like it wants to go and challenge this this kind of spot, this kind of region here. This is what I would think it might do. First, Majestic Silver. I don't know much about stocks, so I'm going to leave this one. Almos Gold, look at this one. This one is, really nice weekly close. Very nice kind of cup formation around here. Let me see if I can try to draw this. So if I do a curve like this, you can see nice kind of rounded bottom being formed. And then what it seems to be doing is that it has these resistance. It kind of does this triangle formation wedge. It breaks out of it. Did it one time, retested, did it second time. Yeah, if it keeps on moving like this, I think it wants to go and test 20. This is what looks like it might be trying to do. This is Chemco Corporation. It's there all to the highs. So look, you have to be really selective in the miners, and look, it's just done a fabulous, fantastic move since April of, well, in fact, March of 2020. Fantastic. But look at these. When these things move down, wow, they move really, really down. And I think I see an ABCD here. Let me see. Okay. No, the ABCD actually points to much lower. But interesting what this Chemco is doing, but it's already made big moves. So if it breaks out, it breaks out. This one is Endeavor Silver. So silver stocks, some of them really, really low price stocks moving now. Freeport McMoran, really interesting one. This one, it's been pretty strong, but it is consolidating. It looks like a higher basing for me, which happened around this region. So we had actually drawn some projections for it. The chances are it's going to go and fill this gap between 61 and 63. The ABCD comes a little bit high, around 68. So it looks like it wants to actually go and make a new all-time highs and complete this ABCD. Looks like this is what it wants to do. But this is one of those popular ones from Freeport McMoran. All right, so this is the Franco-Nevada. This is a royalty stock. And that's why you see it's higher priced as well. Now this one has been in a pretty long consolidation for quite some time. So let me actually draw a box like this. So it has come and tested the bottom of the range. Now it's in the middle of the range, but the chances are it wants to go and test the high of the range. So yeah, keep on watching this one. Look at this. We've got a really nice trend line going on for it as well. So it will be like this. Well, here we go. The price is much further. I think it did a 50% retracement. Let me actually draw this like this. And here we go, 50%. So it looks like this one is actually making an attempt to test the top of the range and maybe eventually break out of it, because as I showed the two charts at the beginning of the video, if there is going to be money coming into the miners, the royalty stocks should do pretty well, because these are gold royalty stocks. They don't have those operations and the costs associated with those. So this is the ETF GDX that we had a look at. So we already covered this one. This is Barrick Gold. We have already covered this one. This is Hecla. There we go. So the Hecla, low price stock, but looks like it wants to go and challenge the $7 highs right above, right close to the ABCD smaller one as well. But it's also been in a pretty long trading range like this. Here we go. So ultimately, I think it wants to go and test these highs around the 9. And that's going to be probably this is what it wants to do. And I believe it's a 61.8% retracement from these lows. Let me draw this. Yep, it is actually 78.6% retracement. So here we go. So yeah, in fact, it might be doing an ABCD higher like this. So this is the thing, it looks like there is the move in gold is actually a multi-month move, and the underlying has moved quite a bit, and it looks like there's going to be if there's going to be rotation in stocks, we could see the miners moving as well, and we could see around 1150 pretty easily, which would be at the top of this trading range around here. Then I'm going to take a look at the Newmont. We have already done that. This is New Gold. I don't know much about this stock, but It also had a good day last week. What is this one? This is Pan American Silver. Okay, so this is really interesting. We have already had a look at the Pan American Silver before, and the chances are it's actually going for the 61.8% retracement, so about $29. Here it consolidated for a few days around, a few weeks around here. And ABCD comes around 26.38. With the $29 being the 61.8% retracement. The chances are actually it wants to go and test this. But in fact, there could be a much bigger move, just not this ABCD. And the reason is that this entire move, in fact, could be kind of a bull flag formation. Not able to draw a nice trend line, so I'm not going to attempt one. And we could in fact be seeing something like an ABCD higher challenging these highs around here. So previous time when we had a look at this, I mentioned keep an eye on it, and looks like the stock is starting to move now. And if we just go back and have a look on the daily chart, here we go. And on the daily chart we can see that it has had nice days, but also moved in gaps here. So this is pretty interesting to see. It's got some open gaps. There is a small gap here. There's a pretty big gap when the CPI data came out. So I think shorter term, we are looking at this level about 2650, which is the smaller ABCD, and the 78.6% retracement from these high to these lows. And if we just look at this like this, is what I mentioned. There's a lot of consolidation or accumulation which took place. It's like a spring formation. This is the concept coming in from the Wyckoff. Okay, this one is the Royal Gold. This is one of those royalty stocks. Here on the daily chart, we have been actually watching for this 144. There's like a gap here. Market actually, in my opinion, wants to move to this one. That's also going to be a retest of these highs with respect to this high, which was a double top formation. So really interesting. We can see royalty stocks have been in bigger ranges. So interesting to see. Let's see what we have on the weekly chart for this. So yeah, this is what we discussed. Massive range there. So maybe he wants to go test the top of the range again. This one is Southern Copper Corporation. There were big moves happening in the copper market. Let's see if we already have. Looks like it's done an ABCD already and pulled back from there. Yeah, so it's actually on the daily chart. You look at this, pretty lot big gaps. I don't like that, to be honest. And it's supported from here. Maybe it wants to do an ABCD higher. Not gonna take a not sure what it wants to do. So this is the Wheaton Precious Metals Corp. I think it is completing its ABCD on the daily chart, pretty much about a buck and a half away from our target, so that's good. Now what is this one? Okay, this one is Kinross. Kinross, wow. So it had actually broken above the kind of targets that we were looking at, so maybe now it wants to go and test these highs. Now this is Nevada Gold. Here we go. I think if this one gets, it's got momentum behind it now, above 20-day moving average, which is above 200-day moving average. So things are looking much better from momentum perspective for this one. And look, it's just gone downtown and formed a double bottom formation here. If it's able to get above this swing here, I think that's going to be pretty positive for this stock. So keep an eye on this one. And then last but not least, we are going to take a look at the Sibanye Stillwater. This is the daily chart, and here kind of this lot of accumulation around here. So that spring thing that I was talking about. I believe the key thing for this stock is to break above the $6 mark. Then what it could mean is that it could move. It is probably then getting ready to move higher. Again, what it has done is it's really testing this bottom of this range coming in from March of 2020. And it's probably Sibanye is the second largest platinum producer, I believe. I think they became the second largest after buying London Mining a few years ago, and that's when we had seen a nice move in Sibanye. It's a South African based company, and what we're looking at is the ADR. If you look at the actual stock on the South African market, we might not see a lot of these gaps that we see here. So, very interesting one to keep an eye on this one, because if there's going to be a rotation and some money coming into these mining stocks, this one could actually also benefit, and it's just moved a lot lower. But it doesn't mean that it cannot go even lower. So just keep an eye on this one. But it's able to, if it is able to break above this, there's a lot of supply around here. This 590 level, but it's able to get above that, then I think it could have legs that it could move higher. But for now, we'll just keep on watching this stock, put it on your watch list. So this is what we are watching in the individual stocks. So thank you very much for watching the video. It's been a long video, do apologize, but I think we have to cover a lot of things for what's going on in the gold market, the kind of macro aspects of it, and then some of the individual stocks. So I hope you'll appreciate that, and if you do, give the video a thumbs up, and if you like our technical analysis, then please do subscribe to the channel. And if you do subscribe, then hit that bell icon button. That way you will know when the new videos are posted. Otherwise, very difficult to know when the new video is coming out. So thank you very much. Good luck, good trading, and speak to you guys soon.